video real quick because it's a little difficult to do the stream. I'm not sure. It's a little bit more setup than I thought. I thought it was just kind of one and done. So essentially what we're looking for is a rejection from here, kind of on downwards. Uh, oh, geez, still sick. Pretty much rejection moving downwards. I'm pretty sure the dollar is doing great, so I'm not even really sure how we're even somewhat in this position, considering the dollar looks amazing. Anyway, so we've seen stuff with Apple, for example. Let's ignore this. This is a fib from before the price change. Here's Apple currently. So I mean, it makes sense to have a short position here. I would say this would be the target goal around this area, the 170. I think it's going to be a little tough for it to kind of come back up in that area. Essentially, we touch the fib, which is nice. Then we come back to the top. So if we assume that we've touched the fib and that's good, but now we've hit the resistance here. I mean, for me, the most next, like, we use the fib, so let's like ignore the fib. So now we're in the wedge. So I essentially just look at it kind of like this. So I would expect more downwards potential here. I would like to see a 148. And this kind of goes where I was saying before with what I would have liked to see with Bitcoin is a little bit more down, a little bit more oversold. And then, we have good buys on a lot of stuff and we don't need the Fed to say anything to get stuff to be bought up. Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens here. I mean, it could just push up. It'd be very interesting for it to just push up, especially with the dollar doing what it's doing. I think also, yeah, it's barely down. The 2-year yield has been doing really amazing as well. Everything else has been pooped on, but the 2-year is the one that easily I would say is outperforming all the others. So this looks pretty sketch also for Amazon. Could turn around. A lot of this is just looking really bearish. Um, we'll see what happens. I don't like stuff buying up without getting sold down. So this will be a little bit interesting. We still have room for Bitcoin anyway. Like if Bitcoin wants to get bought up, it can still get bought up and still fail pretty easily. Um, Depending on where it gets to. So I actually think what I would like to see, I think the most bearish thing arguably would be ending somewhere around here, the 11 hour or at 11 EST, and then just excuse me, just a kind of confirmation at the averages again. So I mean, right now the averages are what's in play for me in Bitcoin. Top of the channel, bottom of the channel, bad buy up under the channel without hitting all the way here. This trend line, or well, at the 0.5. And now we got rejected at the center line of everything, the median. And so now I mean, I usually is pretty straightforward. It's we hit the top, then we hit the middle, then maybe we come back. And if we don't, then we hit the bottom, then we come back. If we don't, we hit the bottom. Like, you know what I mean? It's like womp, womp, womp. And then the averages kind of would be the in between here in a sense. Um, so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I think we're now. We're in the middle of the middle without having come back and touched here. So it's possible. I don't like it. I feel more bearish than I did if it would have come down. I think if it held and then pushed back up, this would be pretty bullish in my opinion because I mean we have this, then we have this, and then we clearly have a higher low on nice support and not kind of in the middle of. I get where this is, but it still feels in the middle of nowhere to me. Um, so let's look at some of this stuff. We got Apple going up a little bit. Hasn't broken out yet. This will, like I said, this will be really interesting to see. I really hope for this that it doesn't. It'd be interesting, but I really hope it doesn't come up and then come back down. Well, if it does that, by the time that hits there, this might hit here, and that might show for some strength upwards, which wouldn't be too bad. Um, hmm. Yeah, if it can do it by then, that wouldn't be too bad. Or like sometime in early March. My fear with something like this is that we'd come under this and then this would be um, a reason we'd fall out of the wedge. That's what I would be afraid of in this position. So we're still just waiting. I mean, there really isn't, from my opinion, judging based on these 4 hours, there really isn't a lot that's going to happen. This was obviously like a big area, so it makes sense this got shot up. This makes sense it got shot down, not just because of the averages, but it also just close hit red line. If we look to the left, pretty much near the tops of where this stuff was, or like near the tops anyway. I guess that's what I said. So this is probably going to be fairly boring of a morning, maybe until the 11 o'clock. I'm still not a huge fan. Like even Ethereum looks the same thing. It makes me feel the same way. Like, can we just come down a little bit more and just touched? Um, you know, what's this one? I like the hit here though. Uh, As usual, I mean, any downwards movement on this, this really paints arguably a better picture of what I was saying than Bitcoin. I mean, any rejection, I don't even need to do the other line anyway, but any rejection that comes back under here, I mean, it seems like it's pretty clear it goes in that direction, and it's not going to get stopped. If it does get rejected back down through here, I mean, like once it does this motion, I don't see it not doing the rest of this. Um, Dollar still looks pretty nice. I mean, it has so much room to drop down. Uh, GME's hit its target. I don't care about Express. AMD's teetering off. AMD looks horrible. I may just get puts on this to be honest, because it's a 4 hour though. Let me see where the day is. It's hard to say. I wouldn't expect it to drop more than 10% if it does drop from here though. Let me see what puts for AMD cost. Is my phone dead? No. Okay, let's see. Puts AMD. Where is it? AMD. I also would be surprised if some of this stuff just sits here for a lot of the day. Um, just because I feel like it would wreck a lot of shorts also and have a lot of good opportunities for volatility coming in either on Friday or the next week. Um, let's see. What do we do? AMD puts. Puts are this week seem kind of sketchy from what I just said. Call put. So $100 put's about 217 cents. Huh. So we're not. The issue is getting a put on this right now for next week out. So with that data, and we're not at the line. The best thing to hope for would be like it comes back and then gets wrecked, but it's really kind of hard to say this. It doesn't seem too bad though. I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear. I'm gonna get wrecked on it out of the money though. I don't think out of the money's that worth it. Yeah, it's like $600 more, but that's for next week. No wonder. Yeah, and these things are pretty cheap. It's like 20 cents. Let's see. Yeah, 20 cents for $100 put for Friday. But I mean, this could easily sit here. I don't like. I mean, shorting's one thing, but put is a completely different one. So it seems like everything's kind of teetering off a little bit. We'll see what everything does. Though, like the same thing from the 4 hour, I would still expect like something like that as opposed to. I mean, it could happen, but as opposed to like, oh, excuse me, but as opposed to it's just straight dropping through nothing. Um, That's just my kind of personal opinion anyway. It would make more sense to take just a little bit longer to get rejected, but we do see the touch here. I think this next 4 hours is going to signify a decent shift in the price, depending where we end. So we hit a decent amount on that last 4 hour. Um, let's see, what are we doing? Well, that looks pretty nice for this is. I don't think this can really afford to fall back down. It'd be interesting to see. We do have our high, lower high, and it'd be interesting to see if this does turn back around. That would be pretty dang also if it does do something like that. I would say short a small bullish position considering it's back above. Hmm. But I mean, I don't trade the Dow Jones on itself, so kind of is like what it is, right? Let's see. Anything super sketch. Nothing super. Excuse me. Moving too much. Uh, Nvidia's kind of almost in the same boat as well, even though it's quite a bit higher. It would be interesting to see if it stops at this 229. I do think a trend reversal on a lot of the big sorry, these antibiotics are doing so much damage today. But I do think a trend reversal might just push this down through this and not care. And really, I think once we break this 221, even though that's like what 4%, that's just gonna wreak havoc on everything if it does. But this still is a decent buy point. I don't like this kind of reversal right here, low, high, low. But it does give potential for maybe another 4 hour to do something, which would be pretty nice. Check the Nasdaq. I don't know where all these lines are from. These are probably lines from my friend a while ago. Still like them. There's a lot, but I like them. Let's see. Rising Branch broke up. Target. Bounce forward. Yeah, I mean, really, just without looking at all these lines in general, we can just do that whatever thing that people do where they have that box. I mean, this looks pretty similar to a lot of the other stuff. Seems like we're just fighting and not really sure what the end goal here is. Um, Mara still looks pretty bad. I still think Mara is a great position to short. Oh, my stomach. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. It might not be a, or I shouldn't say short. I guess puts. Well, short actually. No, I think most of this stuff isn't a much. I think arguably all this stuff, especially in these areas, the it's 10 times better to short than it is to get a put because I mean, trying to guess the time is a lot harder. You really have to see a perfect rejection, and then sometimes you just don't see a perfect rejection. Like not everything's gonna be um, a well, gosh dang it, not everything's gonna be a Disney. And even Disney wasn't like. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but it wasn't super aggressive. I guess I could say on the drop. So let's see. All this stuff, we kind of got our targets. We'll see what happens. Kind of seeing what everything needs to do. Now's the question is, can it do it? I don't see a lot of reason to buy things here, but I do see a lot of reason to buy stuff if it can break um, some of these targets. Is Caribbean? Oh no, Carnival. Yeah, I mean this one looks pretty bad too. This reminds me of a similar thing. Obviously, it's not the same. These are different time frames, but it would have been nicer to come back down a little bit more. And now we're really just pushing. It looks a little bit like Bitcoin, which is kind of funny. But if you ignore some of this stuff, but we do have that average kind of coming. We did kind of come through it a little bit and get wrecked under it, and now we don't have the best support. We kind of just pushing back into it. I think that's a little interesting. Um, Comcast, look at Comcast even. Geez, though this isn't a huge drop, but look at this too. This is pretty beautiful, eh? Look at that right there. Boom. Though these aren't the hugest of drops, so I don't feel like extending it. It's too much work right now. Poor Corbius. Sadly for this too, there wasn't any there was this rejection. So this is a good example I was saying earlier. Sometimes you have rejections, but even without without this line, you'd have a line here if I just drew one. So it's clear that this didn't hit exactly. Um, so that's always a nice example. DoorDash. Ooh, Dollar General. Ooh, look at Dollar General. What the schmoly wolies on the day 200? So the thing I'm apprehensive with here is we have big trend reversals for Dollar General here and here, but here we clearly have a lot more resistance above us. This really wasn't a straight drop down to this area. And even here, it's a pretty straight drop down. Then we come back and we end above it. I'm interested to see how this day ends for Dollar General, considering this is the short entry position. It already hit it. Technically, this is still the short entry position. And the exit, if someone's really cares, it's like 0.5% up. But this is an amazing short entry. And if stuff really does go back downwards or down, I mean, this easily could be 170. It's going to be like a 20% play, maybe a little bit more than 20%. Um, See on the week. Yeah, look at that on the week for the Dollar General. Bounce and up, bounce. Oh, my stomach. But look at this, end under, bounce. And it looks like we're almost certainly going to end this week under. So I think something like Dollar General most surely, oh, my stomach, is going to come down. We'll see though. It's all pretty interesting. The pain right now is pretty wild. I think a lot of the antibiotics have the bad whatever bacteria or whatever is started to die. So now I feel like the antibiotics are just killing me. But yeah, whew, very painful. Um, so I still think the thing to watch here is the 2 year. I'm interested to see where the weekends on the 2 year. For that, I think that's a big turning point. I think a lot of this stuff really looks pretty bad. I'm not sure if a lot of this is really going to survive. Well, not survive, but is not going to drop a little bit more. Um, yeah. So I think for Mara, this week puts aren't the play unless it's at the money, and we really have to see from that point. Put our short great position, I think. Really, the line is where we want to kind of take them. I think this is still fine though. Um, jeez. And let's just kind of go back. But like I said before, it's just a little difficult with some of these because, um, it just Bitcoin looks like it's at a place where it doesn't want to just drop. It looks like it's at a place where it wants to just waste its time. So I think we're just going to have ranging and a little confirmation later. Or I think the 11 hour is going to be the most, or the next 4 hour, 11 p.m. EST is going to be a possible turning point. Like I said before, I'd like to see this come up more. I'd feel more the farther we come up to this, the more bearish I am. And only until we break through this area do I feel bullish on any of this. Take care, y'all.